I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Stacy Green.
Present.
Councilmember Ken Palfini.
Here.
Councilmember Susan Tavalero.
Here.
Mayor Kim Green.
Here.
Councilmember Bob Hall is absent. May I get a motion?
I so move.
I'll second.
In favor?
Aye.
All right. Non-agenda public comment. This is where members of the public have the opportunity to address the legislative body on any item of interest that is within the council's jurisdiction and not listed on the agenda. Comments relating to the items on this agenda will be taken at the time the item is heard. No action may be taken by the council on matters that are not on the agenda. All right, so each person who would like to speak, you have 3 minutes. And please, for the sake of everybody here, if you have something that somebody else has not already said, then by all means come up and let us know. But try not to repeat what everybody else has already told us. So I'm guessing up to the microphone, name and address. And you can adjust that mic down so that you can,
Thanks.
there you go.
Thank you. My name is Deborah Nancy Goss, and my address is 737 South Weed Boulevard, number 20, here in Weed, California. I would like to address all of you to bring up a subject that's very important. It's about eviction and displacement of all the tenants at South Weed, at 737 South Weed Boulevard. And it's regarding the owner, SAE LLC, and Mrs. Sarah Elrick, whose manager of the property is Charles Anthony Rose. And they have issued us a notice saying that we have 90 days to get out of this property with all 30 properties, all 30 tenants. So I just want to read my comments, if I could.
It's your time.
Thank you. Getting elderly, sick, and weak, and being young and just beginning are a real part of society. We, the tenants of the above address, were each given an eviction notice by Mr. Rose from Mrs. Ehrlich and SAE Associates LLC, saying they were going to go through each unit for repairs and all tenants would need to be out by May 20th of 2022. An eviction notice stops a person from being able to rent for 7 years. The notice given says that the city of Weed was issuing permits that were necessary by March 31st, 2022. We believe Mrs. Elrick's business name is Temple of Source and that there may be no business license for SAE Associates LLC. We were informed verbally that Mrs. Elrick had bought the church across the street to be used as a retreat center and that ceremonies and classes would be held there and that the units would be used for housing retreat participants as an Airbnb. We've been told that California is discontinuing the practice of Airbnb in California. We also have been told that some of the classes she will hold include microdosing of drugs for spiritual reasons. We do not know if this will be an outlet for sales for the drugs or not. The primary issue is displacing veterans, the low-income elderly, the low-income working families, the HUD-assisted, the low-income single-parent working households with jobs locally and no transportation available, they walk, and the disabled. In Siskiyou County, we have found that there is almost no housing available, and the waiting lists are over 6 months for subsidized and low-income housing if you're chosen as a tenant. COVID has made a huge impact on housing in this region. Research has found that 1-bedroom units are available for $700, 2 bedrooms at $800, and 3-bedroom units for $900 to $1,600. Not affordable by all the tenants living and working here in Weed. We believe that this action on the part of Mrs. Elrick and SAE Associates LLC is not in the best interest of the city of Weed or Siskiyou County. The loss of active workers, commercial trade, professional, medical, and business banking and banking business and community involvement by all these individuals and families, which affect 1% of the community of Weed, is significant, not to mention the extreme hardship on all these households. We have contacted Legal Services of Northern California to assist us, and they have agreed with our grievances. I have their regional office numbers and their phone numbers. We would like to request a probe into the Weed City's prohibitions and allowances regarding, number one, evictions of an entire group of tenants without cause in 90 days and not allowing an opportunity to re-rent. Two, the developing of an Airbnb of such proportions in the city of Weed. And three, can we, as a group, can we develop an initiative or a petition for defense of this 1% of Weed's population? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Kimberly Howergy, and I reside at 737 South Weed Boulevard, number 11. I've lived there for 9 years. I'm sorry.
Spell your last name, please.
Jauregui.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to add to what Deb said. Does a church have to have a license? That I don't know. Has any permits been filed here in the city under the name of SAE Associates LLC? And is it legal to just change a business name mid, we've paid 3 checks to SAE, and now we're being told it's going to be the Temple of Source compound. When we looked up the Temple of Source, it's a religious video game, and they do cosplay. What about our neighborhood? I'm concerned about the people that live next to that church. It's always been a great church. It's a nice neighborhood. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, I am going to refer to David, our city attorney.
Well, there was a number of questions. I don't think I can answer all of them. I will say that the rules concerning landlord-tenant regarding mobile homes is highly regulated under state law, and it is a state and HCD matter. It's great that the tenants have reached out to Legal Services, because I know that is an agency that has helped many tenants in the past with issues. Whether or not what the mobile home park is doing is legal or not is not something that is really within the city's jurisdiction, or nor do I have a legal opinion about that one way or the other. So I think it's something that the tenants will be able to move forward with the help of Legal Services. And with respect to, obviously permits and things like that, I don't have any firsthand knowledge about what's on file. And then with respect to whether certain corporate entities can change names, I mean, those are, again, those are provisions that are controlled under state law. Corporations and LLCs are registered through the Secretary of State, and that would be the agency to whom the folks would want to turn their attention.
You can look online at the Secretary of State's website, correct?
Correct. There's a business search portal under the Secretary of State's website that will identify entities that have been registered.
Okay.
Lastly, are permits from City Hall public information or private information? Public, okay. So public information is available, and information about corporations and LLCs is from the state of California, as well as legal actions, right?
And so would requests about permits, can that be answered on our website, or would they have to actually
Do an open records
personally come
request.
in and request?
Would that do an open records request?
Yeah, they need to complete a public records request, yes. And the form is on the website.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, David.
Nobody else?
No one else? Okay.
Madam Mayor, I would like to just quickly move down to regular business item F and pull that from the agenda.
All right. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Council member announcements. Mr. Palfini?
Very short this month. I went to a Call Your Information Center meeting at the Hilo. We discussed future events, but actually not much activity at this point. Thanks. Well, I did present that we're always looking for volunteers at the Collier Center up in, right at the border. It is quite a distance, but if you're interested in travel and what the center has, you're welcome to go up and volunteer.
Okay. Do you want to, are you looking up something?
Me? No, I'm ready.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
I sit on the Transportation Committee, and there was not a meeting this month. We'll have a meeting next month. And also next month, for the council members, remember, April 13th, Wednesday, April 13th is our next Lola meeting, which, for the public, that is a League of Local Agencies. It's a meeting that we meet 4 times a year, and it's all the city councils in the county. It's very informational. And then the other thing I wanted to report, which is what I was looking up, but I can't find it. The city gave TOT money to the Disc Golf Association, the local Disc Golf Association, and they had a tournament last weekend. I believe they always have tournaments when it snows.
I do too.
Or
Maybe
it
they need
snows
to have
every
more
time-
tournaments.
Yeah, every time they have a tournament, it snows. Anyway, they had 83 people come to the tournament, and 75% of them stayed at our hotels. So that's a good thing.
Yes, that's a good use of our TOT money.
What's the date of the league and what city is it going to be in?
April
Montague, on the
13th in
13th, Wednesday,
Montague.
the 13th.
Thank you.
Okay. Stacy, do you have any reports?
Yes, I attended the Wairika City Council meeting that talked about housing, and I received that presentation. I forwarded to our folks here so we can have it on file. If we have any issues, we have some details of how to do things and who to contact within the state government to get things taken care of. And so that's called the HHAP3 overview. So that's all I have right now.
Okay, thank you. And I have a question more than a report. Now that we have a bucket truck, do we have any plans for refurbishment of the arch?
I believe the chamber is the one that coordinates the.
Well, it goes back and forth all
No,
the
no,
time, so.
yeah, I understand, but they have a group that's worked on the
That-
arch, and the problem last summer, I believe, was the fact that we had no bucket truck, and there was no lift available for rental, and Mount Shasta didn't have anything available either, so, yeah, we always will assist with the chamber
Okay,
and whatever.
so I can just bring the information back to ask the chamber.
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Maybe we should arrange a meeting between the chamber and
Maybe,
the city.
yes, maybe. Well, usually he's here and he's not.
Is Richard here?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so that's presentation for a proclamation declaring March 10th, 2022 as Crystal Geyser Roxanne Spring Water Day in honor of the public-private.
Can we have them come down first before you read all that?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
You know, I guess we didn't know who was here, so here they are. Here they are. I just thought Martine was here because. Yeah, he was here.
I don't think
Do I have to read it down there? Do I have to read it up here first?
But she needs to read into the microphone.
Swing the mic over here.
I can talk loud enough.
Right here. Come on up, guys. Go up there.
Oh, she's not coming with you? I was hoping you weren't here for that.
You want something to stand on, Ken?
Okay, so, proclamation of the City of Weed Council of the City of Weed honoring C.G. Roxanne. Whereas Weed was founded in 1901 and has a rich history of lumber mills, breathtaking views, beautiful landscapes, tourism, and clean spring water for its citizens and visitors. And whereas the City of Weed recently faced a dilemma regarding the water rights to the Bohan Springs and was engaged in a lengthy legal battle to permanently secure those rights for our citizens and future generations. And whereas city officials met with executives with Crystal Geyser Roxanne in the spring of 2020 to discuss a possible public-private partnership to permanently secure the rights to Bohan Springs for our community. And whereas after 10 months of negotiations, in March of 2021, Crystal Geyser donated $100,000 to the city, $1 million, I'm sorry, to the City of Weed and financed the remaining $1,200,000 for the water rights to the City of Weed with zero interest. And whereas the City of Weed recognizes the significant contributions by Crystal Geyser Roxanne, along with their promotion of economic development, providing quality jobs with livable wages, scholarships to Weed High School graduates, and production of the #1 nationally distributed bottled spring water in the United States. And whereas the City of Weed would like to celebrate our public-private partnership 1-year anniversary with Crystal Geyser Roxanne. Now, therefore, I, Kim Green, Mayor of the City of Weed, and the City Council of the City of Weed, do hereby declare March 10th, 2022, Crystal Geyser Roxanne Spring Water Day, in honor of the public-private partnership and permanently securing the water rights for the City of Weed.
Madame Maire, it was a collective effort. We were playing the moderator in all this. We were in a good position to do that, but we have to recognize we were not the only actor in that. The city was a big actor, Roseberg was another actor. We all work hard to resolve this situation, but thank you.
Well, we thank you.
Come on, can you come up a little bit? Don't get her a box.
Taking several, if you someone likes.
That's a good idea.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, they are.
Okay. That's a lot of reading. Mm-hmm. You remember?
And Crystal Geyser, people, before you leave, I just want to let you know, last weekend I went to San Jose for a Rotary meeting, and we brought our own 2 cases of water because we refer to ourselves as water snobs.
I refer to
Sorry.
myself as that too.
I shared it, though.
And look, I'm the only one up here with my bottle. Up here! I like to tell people that comes out of my faucet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a presentation by Carrie Moltz, Tammy Quigley, and Kelly Zoltoff. Am I saying these right?
Zolotov.
Zolotov of Caltrans District 2 discussing the Weed Boulevard project.
I have handouts.
Oh.
I have 2 handouts.
We have stacks up here.
I gave you some nighttime reading.
Okay.
All right, good evening. Thank you for having us. I'm Carrie Moltz. I'm a project manager at Caltrans. We are here to present to you, we've discussed before, but the Weed Boulevard pavement project that's coming. We're in advanced planning, and when I say advanced, it is out there. 2028 is when we're gonna be coming into construction. But we're in the process of putting our document together, our report together to send to the CTC to get it programmed. So we wanna take this opportunity to let you know about the project, hear your concerns, tell you what we plan on doing, and try to answer any questions that you may have. So the limits of the project, it's going through your boulevard area, 97 from the beginning, and we end up going all the way out of town, about 11 miles. And then we have the 265 section. We're gonna rehab that area as well. Next slide, please. I'm not gonna read all this, but if you want to get into the need and purpose of the project, I supplied it to you. We can skip to number 4. And then this is kind of starting the details of the scope of the project. We are doing a rehabilitation through town, and then we're doing an overlay out of town. And then the next slide kind of gives the visual of it, of what we're gonna do. So in the pink, that is we're gonna dig out the pavement, and we're gonna put it back in concrete. We're also going to hit the sidewalks up, because even though we did them 20 years ago, or by the time this project comes in, it'll be 20 years, we want to make sure they are ADA compliant, and they've also shown some wear from the weather that you get up here, the spalling from the freeze thaw. So we'll be redoing the sidewalks, making sure they're all ADA compliant, putting in concrete so that hopefully we stay out of your hair for 40 years after that. In the blue is the same type of rehabilitation, but it'll be under asphalt. No sidewalks in that area. It'll look like what it does today, but brand new. And then all the orange, yellow area is just an overlay of asphalt. And then next slide. This is the entire project limit, so the 11 miles out of town, this is to the extent that we go to. So that's the quick, easy part where we just overlay it and we get a couple miles done a day. Next slide. Okay, so just some other work that we're gonna be doing. We're gonna be replacing some culverts that are in bad condition. The curb ramps, complete streets elements, that's the next presentation. So probably a lot of your questions Tammy is going to go over, where it's more community-based. But just for the nuts and bolts, signal loops, utilities, we'll have to find all your underground utilities, make sure we don't hurt them. Next slide. The guardrail and other miscellaneous items that we do, putting stripe back down, that kind of stuff. And I think last. Okay, so we're looking at $20 million for the project. We're still in the planning phase, so we don't know exactly what our structural section is going to be and how deep we go, but we're getting that figured out. And then we have a rumble strip we'll be doing rumble strip for most of the project going out those 11 miles, but we're doing an accident analysis at the 89-265 junction for nighttime collisions to see if it warrants more lighting in that area too. For the safety.
97?
97. What did I say? That one over there. Over by Ray's.
Thank you. The Y. You can just call it the Y.
The Y, okay. And that's,
We got our names figured out.
None of us actually recognize
265.
265.
I have a question, Ms. Mayor. Your questions, are you at that slide yet? So I have asked just one. For when this happens, there was displacement when work is done on the South Main Weed Boulevard. What's the strategy for when this work starts? How will things, well, you may not have that plan, but there was some disruption of traffic and local people, how they get to certain stores, gas station. Is there anything thoughts about that? You don't have to explain that, but I was wondering if that thought process is there.
yes, especially because it's concrete, it is a little slower. We'll probably do kind of like a jointed plain concrete, so we can do small sections at a time. This summer, you can get firsthand feel of it because we're going to be doing the downtown Yreka project, and it's the same concept, but we really work close with the contractor on that one on keeping driveways open for businesses, at least one at all times, or if we can't, it's nighttime work, and then we do a rapid set concrete so that we can open up for the business the next day. We've done a lot of planning to make sure that businesses have access at all times. We'll be looking at some nighttime closures, work at nighttime to keep the business open. And of course, you have to balance that because the motels don't necessarily like us working at night, and residents don't like us working at night. So, but we'll be working with the community a lot more as we get there.
You were answering my question. I was thinking exactly what happened last time. Yes, thank you for that.
Okay.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
Will any of you guys be getting on the freeway at the Central to go south when you leave here? Because watch that great big hole.
It's right in front of the old Scott Valley Bank.
Yeah.
I mean, next question, I'm sorry.
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 I think somebody was looking at it the
That
other
was
day.
my
when I was
passive
by.
aggressive way of letting you know it's there.
I think there was discussion, Craig, for possible enhancements like lights a certain way. That's not going to be discussed in this project, right? Certain streets like this corner of Bowles Avenue and South Weed, maybe moving the crosswalk?
Yes.
Is- Okay.
That'll be in the complete
Okay,
streets
it wasn't
portion.
announced, that's
I
important.
would love to.
Also involve the, at the Lincoln Heights at 97 and what is that, Park Street? Is it Park Street? What is this? Lincoln.
Lincoln and.
Lincoln and 97. Will that include, there's, a
Flashing light.
does it?
Yeah.
There was a wreck there,
What? Was there? Okay, great. Well, at least we had lights on.
but no pedestrian.
Yeah.
Yes. All right,
Okay.
thank you. Any other questions?
There's another
Yeah, I
presentation
was
too.
gonna
You
say
can.
Tammy's.
Okay.
Thanks, Carrie.
Well, good evening, Mayor Green, City Council, and staff. I'm Tammy Quigley, and it's great to be here tonight. I am going to talk about complete streets and that aspect included in the project and anything else that needs to come up for conversation as well. The office that I manage out of the District 2 office is Complete Streets and Livable Communities, and we're very focused on our areas that are main streets, although we have a boulevard here, and we want to recognize that it's not the main street for this, so I'm going to do my best to refer to it as a boulevard. But it's essentially where the state highway acts as your guys' livable community space. So we, in these instances, spend a little more attention, as we should, within community space and with our public agencies and our partners to make sure that we're trying to discover what all those needs might be and then address them where we can. So if you want to go ahead and go to the next. What I'd like to talk about is just a few things today. I want to cover the background. I'm actually going to start at the bottom bullet and talk to you about what complete streets are when I'm talking about them, because it's really kind of this umbrella term and it's kind of ambiguous. And when I say it, everyone probably thinks something different unless you're from Caltrans. What we're talking about is your sidewalks, your bike lanes, your crosswalks, your designated space for people to walk, bike, and roll, not sharing that space with a vehicle. So that can look like a sidewalk. It can look like some delineated striping on the travel wade system. It can look like a really nice enhanced crosswalk at Bowles and things beyond that. So for our context, what Caltrans is able to do is kind of a very standard approach. We can put a bike lane in, we can put a sidewalk in, we can put a crosswalk in, or those separated paths, and we can delineate some of that. So when I say complete street elements, those are the features that I'm talking about. Super excited, and there's a little bit of a description there on the right that basically comes out of our highway design manual. So that's how we standardize the practice. Super excited. Everything before what we call this shop cycle, this project is being programmed in the 2024 shop cycle. And everything before now had no designated funding for complete street elements. It's typically been very pavement focused, bridge focused, or our ITS, traveler information, or culvert systems. And starting in this cycle, we actually get a little bit of a budget. Not a lot, but we're hoping to spend what we can within the community based on the needs that we heard. So we're excited about that moving forward. And a large aspect, and I touched on it a little bit, was in that engagement piece. So as soon as we knew about this project coming forward, I was on the phone with Craig and with City Council and Sue Tavallaro at the time. Can we come up and talk to the community? It's really important that we know what the needs are. With our goals, we're to try and determine that I'm not sitting down in Reading or wherever I'm teleworking from and trying to figure out what the needs of the community are here. So that was kind of the aspect and the backgrounds of getting here today. Next slide, please. Want to talk a little bit about that community and local engagement. It was just about a year ago that we knew this project was going to become under development. So we were fortunate enough during that time to have a local effort taking place where I was developing a district-wide active transportation plan. That gave us access to an online survey. And at that time, super important because most of us were not sharing any kind of space together given the COVID restrictions. So we launched that pretty quick, and we did get some decent results here locally that I'll talk about shortly. Also, gave us an opportunity to reach out and connect. We had a great walking field review here. Much of these people in the room were there, as well as some community members, and we also did have Corey from the Siskiyou County Economic Development. So there's a picture. We walked most of the Boulevard section and the 265 section, and where we talked about what those needs might be. Also creating a wish list, and I'll talk about why that's important as well. Some of the discoveries that we'll head into shortly were out of the discussion when we were here in May, we talked about what would kind of that Boulevard section look like, and could we get our engineer on record right now, which is Andrew Dove out of our advanced planning office, just to toss together some cross sections for us to see if we were to look at putting a bike lane through town. Does that displace parking? Yes. Does that look at reducing lane widths? Yes. So we did a little bit of recon from that and shared a little bit more, and I'll talk about that. Next slide, please. What we heard. So the reason there's a list on the left and on the right and a map in the middle. So that map in the middle is that survey I talked about. That was an online survey where we heard from both our transportation partners and the public. And they basically, you go online, you click if it's a walking or a biking concern, and you can see kind of well, since water's the theme tonight, they look like water drops. But if you were to zoom in, and unfortunately I don't have that, you would see a little bike or a ped. And that designated what type of comment, concern, desire, need that you were interested in. So the comments on the right on those bullets is really a summary of the 15 comments that we heard through the public. And you can read them. I'm not going to get into them, but there's a theme in there. We'd like to have a more comfortable space or a designated bike lane or some wayfinding. The comments on the right are really what we talked about when we were here in May. And so we heard that the intersection up on the southwestern side at College Avenue is of concern. We definitely spent some time talking about Bulls, and I'm excited to announce that we're going to go ahead and enhance that crosswalk. In the short term, we might look at something that we can bring a little sooner than when we come for this project, which is that 28 year, a few years out, but we are entertaining how we might be able to get something in there a little sooner. We know it's an area of interest. We have even recently had some more public comments come in, so we spent some time talking about that. And then just some general concerns when we walked that it may not be as comfortable to bike, and the sidewalks are in poor condition. So if you bump to the next slide, I'll talk about what we can look to do. I talked about we do have some funding, and it's not going to cover it all, but the importance of identifying all the needs for Complete Streets are, we'll do what we can in the project, but identifying those needs also allows us the opportunity to document the need, and if we have any other funding sources that we can apply to it over the years, then the well-documented, having that engagement aspect already done, allows us to say, hey, look, we did the work. If other funding comes in, which we know could possibly happen through the federal or the state government process, then we already have some documented process and identified needs. So what we will look at doing with our project that's coming through is, I do want to spend a minute on this first bullet. So at College Avenue, what we heard was lack of connectivity or space for people to walk, bike, or roll in. And what would that look like? Let's just throw out the word to signal it or to put a roundabout in there. And that really takes it's called an intersection circulation evaluation, an ICE study. And so we came back after meeting and talking and went to our traffic operations, and they did a real quick analysis to determine that at this point it does not meet or warrant for a signal or any other treatment type. So if we wanted to explore that further, we would look at that financial partnership. And then we've got Kelly here, who you guys are really used to working with, and she can help foster some of that with you if that's of interest to move forward. I talked about the enhanced crosswalk at Bulls and 97. We're going to do that work in our project, and again, look at doing a little bit ahead of time if we possibly can. Carrie touched on this a little bit, but we did find that most of the sidewalks in this Boulevard section and through 267 are in pretty poor condition, so we'll be addressing those in the project as well. The piece coming through town where a lot of the discussion was, great, it'd be great to have a bike lane. And we heard that, and we brought that information back, and we did share it internally with Craig, couple different variations. If we put bike lanes in, if we separated and put everyone on one side and shifted things, what would that look like? And Craig did some networking internally. And what we need to talk about, if that were to be the case, is displacement of parking, right? Reduction of lane widths. Those aren't anything that we really resolve at this point. So we're going to go ahead and move forward with the same configuration that we have, knowing that if through the whole process something comes up and we need to identify it differently, we've got a little groundwork done. But we would need to really enrich the engagement aspects within the community with the businesses as well, because when you start talking about lane width reduction with a lot of what happens on that boulevard section and parking, that's a much bigger aspect, and I'm sure there's a lot of thoughts going through people's minds of what that might look like, and they're all true. So we'll leave it as it is. We can entertain it for more conversation if we need to. And just that last bullet is we could look at partnering on other aspects if we find over time that there is additional needs for those complete street aspects. So next slide. So what I would like to offer, if you guys are amenable, and this decision's completely up to you, is that we would like to come back out to the community if you'd like us and do that outreach. Have a similar situation. I probably wouldn't talk as long, maybe provide a fact sheet. And it's desirable to do that before probably the end of April. It's not something we have to do, but I'm just offering that as an option. We can offer a virtual platform, we can come in person or some hybrid, and just, collect some more comments and connect within the community. Like I said, just offering it, not something we have to do, but I want you guys to know that that's an option. We're in a little bit of a time crunch to want to get that going, but also know that there are later aspects of the project where there'll be an opportunity to have some comment as well. This is just that planning phase to get that scope identified. So that's really what I have for you tonight. Questions, I'd love to answer them or have some dialogue. I can.
Hi, how are you? I think we talked about this, but was there any room, one of the things, at least I feel that's lacking is signage.
Okay.
I don't know if there's any room in what you're doing for the signage issues on, it's great to have a sidewalk, it's great to have a bike lane, but if you don't know where the heck you're going.
Like a wayfinding, like this sort of?
What I just noticed in town is if you get off the freeway, it's really difficult to kind of navigate this city. For me, I know it, but I know I was involved in a project several years ago that we went to a lot of towns in Siskiyou. We all suffer the same, but navigation is one of them, and from poor signage.
Okay.
And the other thing is, I noticed getting off the off-ramps, a beautification issue. Is that also or potentially in any of this funding that's?
Particular to this, for both of those, well, signage maybe, the beautification maybe not, but there are a lot of opportunities as we speak that are coming forward with beautification. It's Clean California is kind of the program through the federal bill as well as the state bill. Also, there's some other aspects called reconnecting communities. So I've got Kelly taking some notes over here for me. We can definitely come back and offer what that might be available. It typically is coming right now in state funding, which is a lot easier to spend, and it's actually very reachable. So let's get back to you on that and see how we can work together to figure that out.
Perfect, thanks.
Thank you.
Craig, didn't we apply for some of that off-ramp beautification money?
Yes.
Did we? Okay.
Yeah.
And the list came out and we were not on it, so.
Oh,
Does
Oops.
it come up is there gonna be another opportunity?
It's a brand-new funding program, and so it's really just gone through the first iteration. Let me tell you, it was hot, ready, set, go. Chances are we're probably going to see more money on it. So don't file that stuff in the round file that you applied for. Let's keep it somewhere on a stack in case we do end up with that opportunity. We'll share those opportunities and try and make sure maybe we can look at trying to foster the application a little since we share that space on the state highway system.
So what places did you apply? What was the,
it was a good grant. Did anybody in Siskiyou County get it?
Yes. Who?
For all their stuff that they're doing?
okay, so
I think there will be another round before we
Is it
know it.
Clean California,
Clean
or
California
what
is the program, yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I would just like to add, I moved back 12 years ago, and one of those first couple of years of meetings, Caltrans came, and we met, and there were a lot of suggestions that were given. Did you have access to that information in concert with this project here?
I don't know that I go back that far, do you? Kelly does, yeah. I know that we kind of go back that far, but she's the records retention, so let's make sure we have that.
I asked
Yeah.
that for a reason, and then, I do agree, we're not voting on it, we might, but community, outreach, definitely have to, that would be a plus, I can tell you that right
Okay.
now. People wanna know what's gonna happen, what the change is,
Okay.
and as long as you over-communicate that, that's gonna be very well received.
Okay. Would you guys have a point person I can work with to try and arrange setting and space? Sandy, thank you.
Oh, you volunteer.
I know that's what they get paid for.
I figured as much, but I didn't want to
I
assume.
look like a defensive move myself.
Okay.
Is any of that out 97 that got rebuilt after the lava fire get scratched off the list because it got redone?
Yeah, I would imagine the guardrail.
Okay.
I brought
Did
my
it-
posse to answer questions.
Good. Did it get,
Takes a,
will you not have to repave that also? No, we will repave. Okay. But the guardrail and the.
Too long of time period. We didn't do anything.
Well, that's true. It is 2028.
We brought all the guardrail up to standard.
Okay.
I think just to add on, you mentioned about some extra funding that may be still coming through. How will we be notified? Because they said that at that meeting 10 years ago, but we didn't receive. As long as we are in the loop to get the information, I think that would help us a lot too.
We're hopefully going to overstate that, so hopefully you have to delete 3, and you got 4 or 5. We have traditionally in the past not been very good at that, and I concede that here today. That is not the case anymore. You may receive it from a few different offices now. We have just a really robust kind of business practice moving forward to make sure that our locals are receiving information, particularly when it comes to funding opportunities, and we often are here to help try and foster some of that. So I apologize for anything in the past. I think we just weren't really good at it. I know we're much better now.
It has happened over years.
Yeah.
I grew up here from 3 years old, and I've heard stories about, Caltrans said this, they said that.
I know.
So as long as you communicate I think what you said, what got in my heart tonight was the funding or the grants or any type of financial pieces that we can be aware of.
And we can even, because, we have a federal bill that's about to hit us, and we went from millions to trillions. It's coming. The state bill will come maybe a little bit, AB 128 after that. Between Kelly and I and everyone else on this team, we could even put fact sheets together. I know Kelly's done that in the past. She's our financial guru when it comes to partnerships with you guys. So we can even bring that forward and just kind of fact sheet it as like, hey, here's your menu, because it could literally be that. We don't know. We know it's coming, and she's way more involved in it. And so I'm just going to promise that you'll be informed.
The last question, are funds distributed by population within the state? So larger populated areas get more money or more avenues or so? I've heard that before.
It's a yes and no. I don't know if you want to come up. Yeah, I would love Kelly to explain that. If you guys don't have any more questions specifically for me, I can bounce over and hand it over.
I'd appreciate that answer. That's great.
Yeah, okay, I'll be back when you guys need me to.
Okay.
I'll make sure she gets back here. So Kelly Zolotoff, I'm the SHOP, STIP, non-SHOP, local public agency coordinator for our district. It keeps evolving. So as to answer your question regarding funding, it depends on the fund type that we're looking at. Some funds are very population-based. Others are more of an equity-based. We want to make sure it gets equitably distributed across the state. We want there's a certain portion that are supposed to go to rurals or disadvantaged communities. There's a certain portion that's supposed to go to urban. Very specific requirements with our funding. And this is happening more and more where we're finding they're starting to look at equitable distribution across the state for our funds. So we're hoping to start seeing more and more of this funding come towards rural areas, such as the city of Weed and Siskiyou County. So we are looking at that. The Clean California program is one, came up really fast. It was kind of a pilot program with the governor's budget last year. It sounds like it might continue, but we don't know. We have to see what happens with, it was out of the surplus in the general fund, which is a new thing for transportation. We generally don't work out of the general fund, so learning some new rules there. So if that's the case, there's another budget surplus this year. It may or may not get augmented. It does look like it might. If that's the case, there'll be another funding opportunity, and we'll definitely work with Craig to make sure that we get that application out again. And we can now compare it to applications that were approved and awarded funding. So we have that advantage to be able to say, oh, well, that was a successful, what did they do that we didn't, and how can we bolster our application. We also know who in our district did all the reviews, so we can go through that process too and see what were the highlights. Just so you know, there were only 6 applicants within our district, so that covers 7 counties, and 3 of those were awarded. So even the city, or MoDOT County got a $4 million award. So it's not chump change. I mean, there's some good dollars in there that are getting distributed. We just want to make sure we get it over in Siskiyou County and City of Weed in particular.
Yeah, how do I help you fight for that, Kelly?
Oh, you and I will talk.
Okay.
Yeah, we got ways. But yeah, so, and if actually with having this project come to construction in 2028, if there's a way that we can find some of this beautification funding to come along and, this is what happened with the City of Weed, you know, or not Weed, Wairika, with that project, we were able to, we're going to construction, everything kind of lined up so it all goes together. So if we could get that to happen here, then it's a separate contract, but we can merge all the contracts together to kind of ease things up so it's one big construction project and we're not coming in multiple times to disrupt the community on the state highway. Our goal is to kind of come in, get it done, you know, not have to come back for a while and have it all look nice and beautiful and great. So with these additional funds that are coming in for Complete Streets, as Tammy was saying, from the federal government bill, federal transportation bill, the new, everything going on with the state, hopefully there's some more opportunities out there for everybody to get some more funding and we can get more robust on some of these.
We'll look for you to be change agents for us. Thank you.
I'm trying. I do have one question for you. As we move through the project, how often would you guys like to get updates on the project? We're not going to construction until 2028, but do you want? So we will be programming, which means we'll be able to start our environmental phase in July of 2024, which sounds like a ways away, but really it's not. So do you want us?
I know.
I'm sorry.
Once a year or twice a year, I think is good enough for informational purposes. When
Okay.
things start happening, people can remember that, I think. Twice a
Okay.
year or once a year, whatever strategically works that you know in your experience.
Okay, and then if we prepared a fact sheet to kind of provide, when we do have kind of more of a minor update, would that be beneficial? That could be shared with the council? You guys could post that?
Right, in newspapers or on a website, sure.
Yeah, if that would be
good. I
beneficial.
think
We
it
want to
would be
make
good.
sure that we're including the city council, the community in our projects. So, and we're reaching out in the way that you would like us to reach out, not the way that we think that we should reach out, which is a very different thing sometimes. So I'm trying to modify that.
The reminders are good, not only, it's good for us as a body, but it's also good so that we can get staff and us working together.
Absolutely. We do the same thing. We make sure we have our field maintenance, our construction, environmental, everybody together and moving forward on the project. So thank you all for your time. We really appreciate it. If you have any further questions, I know Sue has my information and Craig and Sandy. So, oh, and Carrie's got another thing to add. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sneak in one comment while I have your ear, and just to let you know that before I've been talking, we're going to have the Dunsmuir Gap project coming this summer, where it's the I-5, the northbound lanes. We have been delayed, so you get one more year off. So,
What,
Off ramps.
so what are they doing in between Mount Shasta and Weed, in the median, near Abrams Lake? They're taking out a bunch of trees in that middle. And after this project at Southweed, now you got me watching about taking out trees. Are they doing something in there, or
Is
we're
that
just
the
using it for
disposal
burn
site?
pile?
oh,
We're using it as a burn pile?
no, it's a clear recovery project, so any trees that are within a certain distance of our traveled way, they're deemed unsafe, and
Oh,
so
good.
we're taking
Finally,
them
are
out.
we doing that on 89 too, or no? Because we'd have to take everything out of 89.
Within the same project, depends where it is on 89, but the clear recovery job is a certain distance off the roadway if the car
Right.
veers off the roadway. And if the bank is too steep, we're flattening those slopes, we're cutting any trees that they could hit. So it's just it's a safety feature.
Okay,
89 is not part of that project, it's only on Interstate
thanks.
Any other questions? Okay.
I knew that statistic. I knew that statistic. Oh, bye, drive safe.
Bye.
They have to be. Yeah, look for the pothole.
Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with the correction. Make sure you make the correction.
Yes, so I will make a motion to approve the agenda. Correction on A, there are 3 seats that are up and not 2.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
Main action on that, sorry. Can I ask a question on that? Or we have to pull it before I ask a question? You can't ask a question on it, right? I just want to know if the people that are involved in that, do we have dates on when everything has to be turned in or all that?
About the elections?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sandy, we'll get that to you.
Okay.
Okay. We had no items removed from the consent, so we will move into general business. And this, item A is for discussion only. Sanitation services, RFP options, and give direction to staff.
Madam Mayor and Council, as we discussed in our agenda meeting earlier, we are looking at a couple different models. The current model that we have is simply a model for just providing services for the city of Weed, in which the hauler simply gets paid a monthly fee for hauling the waste from our customers. And we just simply pay them a check for providing those services. The customer service, customer complaints primarily come through us, and then we have to contact the hauler to make sure that those things are being taken care of. One of the other models that we were looking at is the Wairika model, which by ordinance has a franchise agreement with a hauler in which the hauler provides all the service, both the hauling and the customer service, the billing, and simply pays the franchise fee back to the city, similar to what we have with our cable company, our electric company, we do have one gas line out on Vista that we have a franchise agreement with Blue Star that pays on that as well. So those are the 2 models that were brought forward. We kind of talked a little bit about the pros and cons of both services. The pros for going to the Wairika model is simply that I believe it provides more skin in the game for the hauler, providing that they are the ones that do all the customer service, all the billing, the collecting, handling of customer complaints, and assuring that those customers are getting adequate services for the fees that they pay. So at this point, staff is simply looking for direction as to where we need to go with the RFP process. Do we want to go with status quo of what we currently have, or are we going to look at providing another level of service with similar to what Wairika provides to their citizens?
Mr. Mayor, if that's your presentation concluded?
Yes, I mean, it's a summary of what it is. If we entertain any questions at this point?
I would my vote is to go for the second option, which was addressed, what's proposed. I think it would be best on what we currently have, what we're looking forward to, and the enhancement to our services for the citizens of Weed. That's my vote.
Well, yeah, and this is just
We're not
a
voting
discussion.
yet.
Yeah.
Yes, you're in favor of
But
that.
just if you're just giving us some general direction, that's all we're looking for tonight.
So right now, there's 4 or 5 disposal companies in the county. And any of them could bid in this fashion.
Correct.
It's just whether we're going out and saying, this is the only way we're taking it.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
I think they would bid according to what's necessary if we're a viable candidate for their
Sure.
business. As discussed earlier, I do believe that the 5% franchise fee does have distinct advantages potentially to the city where we could use that a little bit differently or
With our
or as
general
we-
fund.
as we want to spend it. I think it relieves manpower at the city level. It really does reduce accounting services.
Correct.
It just takes that out of the whole, it's not so complicated for an audit service where you have to account for every piece of equipment and time and all of those things that go into that, so.
Yes, it'd be simply collecting a check. I think the city of Wairika, after talking to their finance department, I believe they get theirs on a quarterly basis. So once a quarter, they get a franchise fee from the hauler, which I believe is Wairika Transfer, provides them a check. And then they have complete access to their books as to, the revenue that's coming in. So just for checks and balances.
And we still have to go through the 218 process to establish the rates so that they're equitable to all the citizens, right?
Yes, that is the conservative approach.
Okay. I think we should explore it.
Well, and if that's the direction of council, we would like to move forward and start putting together, working with our city attorney and making sure that we have all of our Ts crossed, Is dotted, and move forward.
I think everybody's in agreement.
I am in
I am.
agreement with that.
Do I
To
take,
take off those poor ladies in the office.
no,
Nope, just go to the next agenda item.
okay.
Oh, do you need,
Public comment?
oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, yes.
That's what I was asking.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were asking if, okay, I apologize.
That's okay. Do we have anyone in the audience that wants to make any public comment on?
Yeah. So next time, you won't be calling us.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So,
All right. Moving on. Discussion item, discussion of dedicated 0.25% sales tax, give direction to staff.
yes, Madam Mayor and council, there was a request by Mayor Pro Tem Green last month's council meeting in regards to placing this on the agenda for discussion. The Measure M was put on the ballot in November of 2020 for our citizens to vote on. It was a 1/4 sales tax, which the proceeds were going to be divvied up among several different entities, including the Parks District, the cemetery, I believe, public safety, and a portion of it going to a reserve account for emergency spending of that nature. So it was brought back to this governing body for a discussion as a possible getting direction on whether or not we want to go that step again for this, because we only have a couple more months before we'd have to put everything in play in order for this to happen. So, but at this point, I mean, we're going to open it up for discussion among council, and I know we probably have some folks here that want to talk about it as well, so open it up.
Yeah.
Do you want public
Public
comment?
comment first?
Okay. All right, so public comment, and whoever wants to go first, name and address.
My name is Shirley Satana Dutt, and I live at 792 Stringtown here in the city of Weed. I'm the recording secretary for the Wainema Cemetery Association, which consists of the Lincoln Heights and Wainema cemeteries. I was born in Weed in the old hospital downtown on Alamo Avenue. I've lived here my entire life for the exception of about a year. I've lived in the same house since 1967. We have some of our members here tonight. Some were unable to attend for whatever reasons, but they do approve of this being put back on the ballot. We're all in favor of that. I brought some photos with me tonight. This one shows that in 1984, they put the sprinkler system in. That's how old our sprinkler system is in both of our cemeteries. And I also have one that I'm going to leave here with you. It's a picture of what it looked like in 1972, which was nothing but dirt and weeds. Anyway. I can remember they used to have cleanup days for Memorial Day and Veterans Day, and everybody in town used to come out and pull weeds. That's all we did for a week was pull weeds, just to kind of clean it up, but it was still nothing but dirt. Now, it looks a lot better, but we don't have any more volunteers. Nobody comes out. And why we need this? We have a sprinkler system that is almost 40 years old. And working on it, fixing the burst pipes is difficult, tedious, time-consuming, and expensive. The workers are 3 retired gentlemen, and they are dedicated and very conscientious of the job that they do. Our equipment is not commercial grade. It's old, and some of it is donated. We have to contract with another cemetery to have plots dug for services to put a casket in. We do the interments, but they do the digging, and it's very expensive for us, and we don't have the money to buy any type of equipment to dig them ourselves, nor a place to store them. For hauling debris, when we clean up the cemetery, we have a donated golf cart. It has a small box on the back. It holds about 3 pitchforkfuls of pine needles at a time. You can get that off one grave. And we get by on some donations. We have wages to pay, we have other expenses, we have the fuel, the maintenance. None of the maintenance can be done locally anymore, so this equipment has to be hauled out of the city to go someplace to get worked on because we no longer have a small business repair here. And I cannot tell you how many people that we encounter on any given day that come into the cemetery to find a loved one that's been gone for decades or just recently. But there is always somebody there around, walking around, that can answer their questions. I read in there that in the TOT funds, it is for the beautification of the city is part of that. And I'm just wondering if all of you consider the cemetery part of the city, and shouldn't it be beautiful also? We have a lot of people come and visit there. And if you want a tour, there are people that are ready to do that. Please, please, please recognize us as an entity. We need to have this stuff put in place so that we can have this back on the ballot and we can have continued funding, not hit and miss. Who do I give this to?
Questions from anybody? I have a question. So this would also alleviate the cemetery requesting TOT taxes?
Yes, that was part of why I said we do request it. You'll see that in our little flyer there that I handed Sandy. It's a rundown of the last year of our expenses and what was donated and the plots that were sold. We are running out of room. Pretty soon we aren't going to be able to have any more money come in at all. We are non-endowed. I mean, we're just running out. And we need maintenance done. Any more questions? Can I add one other thing? I was born and raised here, and I've watched the process, and it's amazing to go walk around over there now. You should go and see it. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Paula Rossetto, 491 College Avenue, and I am here as president of the Board of Directors for the Weed Recreation and Parks District. I've been on the board for just 3 years. We're asking for your support in passing the resolution for the quarter-cent sales tax measure in the November 2022 election. As you already know, the Weed Parks and Rec operates on a shoestring budget, and along with 4 parks, manages the Weed Community Center. Yes, the community center operational budget sustainability should have been addressed before the building was built. But that doesn't matter right now because none of us were here involved in the planning, and the center is here and we're going forward. The original concept of the center was for the youth programs, but because we do not have the staff, we don't have time to organize anything. We were in talks with the Boys and Girls Club before COVID, but since then, that hasn't been able to work out. We research and apply for available grants. Many require matching funds, which we do not have. Most grants require money up front for reimbursements. Cash flow, we do not have. We've created a list of activities that have been requested by our senior members, but unless we get additional funding, we can't provide any of them. These requests include trips to casinos, just to Wairika, trips to ball games, plays, performances, not that far away, up into Southern Oregon. They are asking for expanded van hours, expanded destinations. Right now, we're not able to do that. We want to continue the senior lunch. Can't do that because lack of funds. Other needs and requests for the community center have been youth programs and events, a community garden co-op, another dog park, expanded night and weekend center hours, additional fitness classes, pavement and parking area redone, landscaping and sprinklers. Recent unexpected repair costs have been the pool deck after 3 years. The other one was dissolving. We have that fixed. 3 solar panels needed to be replaced due to vandalism. The dehumidifier for the pool, constant problems. We need a new pump on the ice machine. Major repairs to the Bel Air Park, or excuse me, the Bel Air pool. Repairs to our kitchen range. We had a windstorm, the roof vent blew off and took the guts of the heater with it. Liability insurance, oh my Lord, it went through the roof. Parks and community requests. Carrick Park needs a new septic system. There's a house out there that needs to be remodeled. The basketball court pavement needs replacement. Dead trees need to be removed. Plus, there was a request for additional horseshoe pits. Maintenance department, new picnic tables are needed. Ours that we have are old. Park security cameras to discourage vandalism. Green energy switch from gas to electric for our equipment. We need a backhoe and a tractor. I'm leaving copies of our yearly budget where you can see our costs and deficiencies. Feel free to look over our books at any time, ask any questions that you have. Thank you for your consideration to this matter.
Anybody have any questions for Paula?
I just made some comments and they can ask questions of me.
Well, I think they were representing their groups. So I don't, as far as I know, there's nobody else that wants to speak on this matter? Okay. Okay.
Do you have your microphone on? Your microphone.
Okay, unless other council members have questions. The first thing that's up on this item is sales tax, which is actually for municipal purposes. Usually municipal purposes are regarded as city purposes. My first question is actually to our attorney, and that first question is, some of these funds that are asking to be expended already have a funding mechanism. And as far as I know, with Park and Rec, that funding mechanism is property tax. So are we allowed to use a municipal taxing mechanism to fund an entity that already has a funding mechanism such as property tax?
Yes, the city can essentially donate general fund money to another local agency. The limitation there would be the constitutional limitation on gifts of public funds, but because the city would be giving it to another local agency, there is a public purpose to that. So that is permissible.
Okay.
If it was a general tax, general sales tax, what that means is that whatever council is sitting at the time, they get to decide where they want that general fund money that's coming in to go. One year, they might want to donate some money to the Park and Rec District. One year, they may not, and there would be no mechanism by which the Park and Rec District could compel the council to provide that donation. If there wanted to be a dedicated stream of funding, then you're talking about a special tax, and that requires a 2/3 voter approval. And that would be something
Of the council or of the population?
of the voters.
Okay. So is this considered, what they're proposing, is this considered a special tax or a general tax?
It looks like Measure M was proposed as a general tax.
Does it qualify as a general tax?
Yeah.
Based upon what
It
they're
could be
asking?
you could do a general tax like that.
So as a city council, we could decide on where those funds were sent, and even though the Park and Rec doesn't request them, or requests them, doesn't mean the council has to give them.
That's exactly right. If it's a general tax, which only requires 50% plus one of the voters, that money will be the council's money to decide what to do with.
Okay, so currently we have a 1/4% sales tax already as a general tax. Am I okay with that? Okay. So currently we spend roughly 1/3 on seniors, 1/3 or less on libraries, probably more than 1/3 on seniors already. Yeah, if we consider payroll on the drivers, right? And then the lunch itself.
Well, not just payroll on the drivers, but the entire van. So gasoline, wear and tear, all that comes out of the allocation for
okay.
senior.
All right. So I don't know what the dollar number is on that. It would be interesting to find out, because I think that exceeds more than 1/3.
Well, and the senior lunch money's not going to the rec, it's going to.
I'm not saying what goes to the, I'm just saying where the money is being.
Seniors. Okay, got it.
Seniors,
Yep,
okay.
yep.
Because I'm just qualifying the money, the council has approved senior spending for the bus, senior spending to drive the bus, to maintain the bus, to insure the bus, and it also does senior lunches. Senior lunches involves exercise, lunch, and usually a program afterwards.
And then the snow shoveling for seniors.
Snow shoveling for seniors, which is not much this year.
I know. Which we need.
So it was a good year for senior expenses. The other 1/3 is going to the library, or potentially 1/3. I doubt if it's 1/3. And the other is left to the whims of actually city, right? Is there any way that we, as a city council, that means that we can take that money and still keep seniors as they are, spend the library money, and then utilize the rest of the funds for activities at the rec, if we wanted to?
I thought we couldn't, because when we voted, it specified that that money would be for senior programs and the library.
And emergency services.
and emergency services.
Back in 2016.
But as a general, was it emergency service?
2014?
I thought it was for general city services, if I look back right.
General fund was a piece of that.
Huh?
General funds was a piece of that.
Yeah. So we, actually, so we still, according to our legal counsel, we, according to what I'm hearing, is we still have the ability to mismatch that money around a bit without creating another sales tax. I'm not really positive about sales tax because sales tax, although borne by a lot of the public who passes through here, because a lot of our tax money is generated by gasoline. However, when the price of gasoline is at $6 and the price of gasoline in Mount Shasta becomes $5.95, you're kind of going, it doesn't take long for travelers to save a nickel. Ask those who go shopping in Medford all the time. So I would just leave it at that. So it puts the retailer at a disadvantage somewhat in weed, although we don't have a heavy retail section, I suppose, but still, it is there, it's obvious, so if I go buy a cannabis, it's gonna be more expensive in weed than it's gonna become in Mount Shasta. So if I buy groceries, taxable groceries, same thing. So sometimes by raising taxes, you scare off money. So if we can utilize the current 0.25%, that would make me happy with not raising taxes, because although I know everybody knows me as a flaming liberal, it is not, I am not much when it comes to money. I also, the fact that the cemetery, although, believe me, I believe it's an extremely worthy cause, so don't get me wrong on any of this. However, the failure of the cemetery to generate enough money to operate, that's not in our capacity to cure. To tax all the time, I'm not sure if that's the right solution. And to take it out of TOT, I really do not believe it's the right solution. It would be better off of the general fund. That's fine with me. But TOT is for beautification and promoting business. So I would also like to know if we have heard that property tax is not adequate. Don't know, never seen any numbers. So in order for us to make a decision, I would like to see numbers on what that inadequacy is. I think the county should be able to provide you with actual numbers. I would like to see numbers if it's $50 a parcel. I'd like to see numbers if it was 1%, 2%, 5%, which could generate more money. But without those numbers, for a voting member of this council to rate a 0.25% sales tax, I'd like to see facts instead of just, it's not enough or it's too much. I don't know how the rec department, and I know this money is designed to be spent in a lot of different places. I don't know what all those places are, but I would like to see a little bit better idea of where that money would be spent. What kind of programs, what kind of things are we going to do? What kind of programs are we going to have? Have we done any surveys? Have we looked at the community on what they want? I know when we did seniors and when we did the library, we went to those groups and said, we actually did a physical survey. We spent about $1,000 to go and do a physical survey of what the seniors wanted. The library was a little bit more vocal, so we just had group meetings with the library. I don't know what the community expressly wants. Maybe you guys do, I don't know, but I just, so anyway, those are my questions. I'm looking for answers.
Okay, so.
Convince me.
There's your answers. So those are just, without us going out, those are the wants and the needs of the community that, that we have gotten so far. And you can see the budget and where the money goes. It's all there. And anytime anybody wants to audit the books, it's public information.
I'm not looking at auditing books. Auditing books just tells me if you're meeting your budget and stuff like that. What I'm looking for is if you want $100,000 a year or whatever it was gonna generate, what are you gonna give to the community for that? And that's what I'm looking for. If it's youth programs, that's great, but what is a youth program? I don't have an idea. If you look at Boys and Girls Clubs, if you invite Boys and Girls Club into this mix, Boys and Girls Club will supplement and move you out of the recreation program for the youth. That's what they did in Mount Shasta, and it's not that they don't do a good or a bad job. I'll leave all that up to the Mount Shasta community. They look like they're doing fine, but you find no youth programs at the Recreation Department in Mount Shasta anymore. None.
And you find none here either.
And we find none here either. So what I'm looking for is, what are we gonna do with those funds? And I like specifics, not general terms. So help me.
Okay, so I think that if there is a favorable direction, that's when the specifics are gonna come. So if we agree, yes, let's continue this discussion, then we can go out and get specifics. But if the council says, there's no way we're gonna do this, we already are stretched for time and staff. So we would not be going out to get any specifics unless we saw the light at the end of the tunnel. But I want to give you just a quick reference for the county right now, because you brought up that it's not favorable for retailers. So yes, a lot of people do go to Medford, but a lot of us have to go to Reading for things too. So right now in Siskiyou County, Wairika and Dunsmuir are already at $7.75. So when you go to Walmart and you buy toilet paper, do you notice that it cost you 3 cents more in taxes than it would have if you would have bought it at Dollar General? It's 25 cents for every $100. I realize the name tax gives everybody a cringe, but we've already proven that the majority of the 1/4% tax that we get comes from people off of the freeway. Yes, gas is over $5 a gallon. I had to go to Reading yesterday, and there was no shortage of cars on the freeway, going down or coming back. So, in fact, I had to get gas before I went, and I had to pass 3 stations because I couldn't even get in to the pump in town. So yes, that could happen. There could be a big ration, but people are traveling no matter what. And going to a parcel tax, I did do the preliminary research with the county, and they just simply said, you're not going to get enough money because so many parcels in our city are owned by the government.
So many parcels in our, in the Parks District.
In our Parks District.
That's where all
and that's where it would come.
the federal land comes in.
And it has to pass by 2/3, right? 3/4, 2/3? 2/3.
Yeah.
So in
A
the.
parcel tax.
Yes,
Yeah.
in the 2020 ballot measure, the measure lost by 8 votes. There was a 14 vote difference. So if you take 8 of those people and put them on the other side, it would have passed by 50 plus 1. And I got a lot of feedback in that I didn't really understand what it was for. And if I would have known, I would have voted differently. So the plan this time is education. We will educate our community, and by the time we go out and start canvassing and educating, we will have specifics of what that money would go towards.
Okay, here's one thing, which Ken, I think I already told you. The cemetery district, I believe, is using a 1998 Craftsman lawnmower that Paula's dad bought. And Zeke, the Parks and Rec, what's the lawnmower there? It's new, isn't it 7 or 8 years old?
What, our mowers?
Our mowers?
Are all at least 12 years old.
Okay, and they run,
They were all there
because they
before I
get maintenance.
Yes.
So,
In there,
But we have to decide, do we get to fix it this year
or not.
or not?
One of the things that could be requested is a new lawnmower that could mow the cemetery and the parks. Because Zeke mowing the cemetery with a for real lawnmower would be probably 1/8 of the time as it takes them to get the Craftsman through there. And it would not be $200,000. I don't know, whatever a lawnmower costs, $100,000. It would be payments like we do now, where you pay however much we do a year on the lawnmower. So it wouldn't. I don't see a $50,000 or $100,000 request. If there's something else that comes up, new picnic tables. Those things are $800 or $900 a piece. $1,200 each. That's enough from you. Right. We won't go there yet. But anyway, I mean, so there could be, I can't see coming in and asking for $100,000, but asking for help that's gonna help the cemetery and help the recreation district, both. So that some of that could get covered, because we do have 3 80-something-year-olds working at the cemetery. No,
I'd like to add a
70-year-olds?
component too.
70?
Wes is the youngest employee, are you not? Yes, I am. Yeah, okay.
Ms. Mayor, I'd like to add a component that's not been talked about.
Okay,
The Lincoln Heights Cemetery is part of this communication. And in the last year and a half, 2 years, there's been a lot of things that have been done from volunteers. So I wanted to mention that. So that'll be a part of the portion, and that wasn't mentioned. There's signage. I encourage you to go look at it at the holidays. The signage and the signs from the front were recreated. The shed was redone. The flags were all purchased new. And there's tree that is maintenance cut by people that are volunteering. And the answer I was given when I asked who was doing that, it says volunteers, and that's fine. But the cost there, the community got together, and they got together with people that live there, people that have moved on, or relatives, and they raised all this money out of their own pockets. And we let the city know that. So there was no expenses. So there's a difference of what the cemetery used to look like when the Mount Shasta Baptist Church owned it until like 1971, I think it changed and went to the Winnemucca Cemetery. But however, there's some duplication of volunteer activities that's not being paid for. I think they didn't ask to be paid, and they told me not to mention that, but I told them I would need to mention that because it's things that have been done, and it's beautification that I grew up there. It's a totally different look, and I encourage you to look there, go there on the holidays, you see all the new flags, the tree trimming, and they also do watering of the lawn and maintenance of the lawn time. So that's been volunteer, but that's a good piece why the tax would be increased, would be helpful.
and along those lines, even though there are 3 paid employees, they don't get paid for all of the time that they put in.
And the volunteers don't get paid at all, they volunteered.
You're right. Well, that's what I'm saying. They might work there every day, but they might only put 1 day on their time card. So they're volunteering the rest of their time. So here's another reference for you, and when we were looking at costs, do you have any idea how much a set of bases cost?
Baseball field.
I don't really know what they cost now, but I haven't.
$400 for a set of bases. And we have 4 baseball diamonds.
But Mount Shasta currently furnishes, from what I understood, don't they furnish Lobus Field?
No.
No? Okay, well, I thought they
don't
did.
furnish anything.
There's a lot of miscommunication going on in different areas, so, again, if we don't have to do a 1/4% sales tax, and we already have a 1/4% sales tax, I'm telling you that, is a reallocation better than, we can reallocate the money, is that correct? I don't know why we couldn't do that, I mean, I don't know what the fund looks like now, or if I thought we kept it in a separate account, or maybe not, or at least a separate accounting.
Yeah, it is, it has a separate accounting for the current quarter penny that was passed, I believe. We were trying to debate, is it 16 or 14? I believe it was
2016.
16, I believe it was a couple years after the Bowles fire. Yeah, and our city attorney.
Actually, you know what, it was 2014, it was because.
Was it 14?
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it's 14. And our city attorney found some references in there talking about.
Yeah, so it's a general tax. It says it's a general tax, which means the council can spend it on anything they want to that's within the jurisdiction of the city. But then it has this caveat. So these funds may be used for any general governmental purpose, provided, however, that the council is expected to give some consideration to using the funds for library expenses and for senior services, along with police and fire protection and roadway maintenance. So this is in section 3.26.140. This is probably not the way I would recommend that you draft your use provision of a general tax, but I think it gives you some indication as to, provided you consider these expenses, the council has the authority to use this money for any general governmental purpose, not just for libraries,
So the ones
seniors.
the way we have it listed is just those 4 or so items.
Those are things you have to consider.
Okay, it doesn't mean we have to spend them.
Correct.
And
It's a
we-
general tax,
And
you
we
can spend
can
it on anything.
consider something else.
Yep. But you have to just consider those things before you spend it.
I consider them.
Okay.
On to it.
So in those funds right now, is
This is,
there,
I'm sorry, this is a problem that all local governments face when they are raising their sales tax. General taxes are the easiest ones to pass. It only requires a majority. But that's gonna give the governing body the ability to spend it on anything. And so the governing body wants to explain to the people, well, these are our priorities, and this is what we wanna use it for if we get it. There's a line there between explaining to the people what your priorities are, your budget priorities are, and telling people, actually, this is a special tax, and if you vote on this tax, it's gonna go to these things that we care about. And so there's a fine line there, and it's something that, if the council wants to move forward with the tax, we would work with you guys closely to make sure that we are fulfilling both the council's desire in terms of revenue, raising revenue, but also walking that line between telling people what you want to spend it on, what your budget priorities are, as opposed to the fact that in actuality, if it's a general tax, you can spend it on anything you want. So there's a couple ways to do that. One way is people pass two ordinances. They pass the tax, the general tax, and then they pass an advisory ordinance that says, this is advisory, but we're just telling you that if you do pass that tax, these are the things that we want to spend it on. So that's one way people do it. There's other ways to do it as well, but that's a nuance that we would need to work through, I think, if we.
That's exactly what happened, because it was designated for certain items. As people said, Stacy, you guys said this, we voted for it, whether it passed or not, but they didn't see money spent on those specific items. Just now, I'm seeing the wording, there was no senior programs in this just wording that we just had. And people want to support senior programs and probably youth programs, but it wasn't defined And so your communication is exactly right. That's what I've heard, and that's what I experienced.
But it was defined.
It was defined on our original 1/4% sales.
The original
Yeah.
1/4%.
Right, but the actuals didn't match with that. That's what people are hearing. They don't hear that senior programs were mentioned or whatever other programs that they were meant by this increase of tax.
Okay,
And that's just a
I was
communication.
not on the council when that was passed, and I know that it was library, senior services, and emergency services.
Right, see, that's the problem, is that when you, sometimes, like the way this was written, it sounds like this is a special tax. And if I vote for this tax, I know that as long as this tax is in place, this money is gonna go to seniors. But that's not what this actually says. This actually says, this is a general tax, and the council can spend it however it wants, but the council will put consideration to
Right.
these services. So you're promising the electorate one thing, but there's no legal obligation
Right.
on
So
the
it's my
council in
morals.
20 years.
It's my morals,
Yeah.
and I'm good with that.
Because if it's but the thing is that if a court were to say this is a special tax, then you would need 2/3 of voter approval.
Right.
That's
I
what
want
you
that.
want to avoid.
We want the 50%.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so based on the one we already have and the designations that came from the council, is there a surplus of money in this account that now we could tap into? Or what are we gonna have to give up for us? Are we taking money away from senior services in order to have a summer recreation program?
We don't know, we haven't developed that yet. But I would say that if we're allowed to consider public works, we're allowed to consider public safety, thank you. We've considered it. If this council says that rec is probably a little bit better at this point in time, that's where we can fund it. Now, I don't know when
Or we don't.
funds are given every quarter, right? I don't know when those come in for sales tax. And I don't want Tim to make a frown at me either, because now I'm taking money out of the general fund. So, but on the horizon is that our city in particular is coming out, one part of Tim's orchestration, part of the sacrifice on our staff departments and for all the way around has made us a little more viable and a little sooner than other communities, in my opinion. We have a couple fairly good things that we won't mention coming up potentially in the city that could be a very positive force on that sales tax just alone. Okay, so if we increase our sales tax 50%, that whole funding mechanism is larger now.
But we aren't doing 50%.
Okay,
Huh?
but when that
I
fund
don't
gets.
know when it's gonna be, if that even happens. I'm just saying, if we come out of this and our local economy in our town increases through getting new businesses into town, it increases the sales tax, it increases our 1/4% that we currently make.
And-
So I'm
and the
saying, are
way-
we doing this?
Well,
I don't know.
and along those lines, as we increase those taxes, the cost of everything we're already doing with those taxes is going up at the same time. So I don't see us being able to pay a restaurant $8.50 for a lunch by this time next year.
No, it will not be.
So if we want to continue those services, those added taxes are going to go to the things we're already doing so that we can keep them.
How much do we get from that, 1/4%? 250?
250, 280.
Yeah, I think the range when we were looking at this 2 years ago was, around that 260 to 280 range right there, give or take, the fluctuation with the economy, so.
And the price of gas.
Yeah,
So.
Now the price of gas is double.
exactly. So now it costs us twice as much to operate the van on the same amount of taxes we already collected. And now we're gonna give those taxes to another entity?
I understand what she's saying. I'm getting it. I get it. So this says discussion of dedicated quarter cent sales tax, give direction to staff. Are we done with the discussion? 'Cause
I'm done with the
Well,
discussion.
okay.
I haven't been
with-
convinced, but I'm done with it.
With this discussion,
That's what I thought.
I would also suggest that maybe if that's the concern of how the money's being spent and where it's going, that we do have an advisory committee, and it's not just us, it's community members
well, that's what we're
on
elected
that,
for.
yes.
Mrs. Rec, President, could you get a quote from Craig Kay, who is the county tax guy, as to what the Parks and Rec would get if we charged a $25, if we had a parcel tax of $25 or a parcel tax of, well, obviously 50 would be double the amount of what the 25, but, you know, what a parcel tax would be.
Well, and I think
And
you're gonna
asking
have to
what a
narrow down the
2%
question.
or 5% tax would create, because a percentage is
Yep.
different than just a
Per
parcel
Right,
fee.
and one of the things I know years ago when we were looking at it, was that when you start doing parcel tax, you look at Carl Goltz's property, where he has how many parcels out there?
I own 5 parcels myself.
Well, I know, but are they all attached together?
Yeah, but they get taxed separately.
Right, they're taxed separately, but he has a ranch.
Right.
And so that discussion was, well, what does that ranch pay? Is he gonna pay, how many parcels does he have, Craig? Do you have any idea? Anyway, you know, so his bill would be thousands of dollars versus somebody that had a house on Liberty that was only gonna pay 25 a year. And so those people were gonna say, no. And we have a lot of those people in the area.
That happens everywhere.
Right. So can you research that? Okay.
I think based on the spreadsheet that the mayor sent me it was about a month or so ago, that they listed every single parcel, but I did a sort and filter through that, and I believe there's around 1,600 parcels together that are qualified for the would be qualified for the tax, that are not in the forestry or not within a government entity. So I want to say it's roughly about 1,600 parcels total. So
Do you remember what the spreadsheet had of what the yearly collection is? I don't. Is it on there?
I don't know if that was actually on there or not. I think the list that I looked at was just the parcel list.
Okay.
And then I did a sort and filter and got all the ones out of there from the forestry and public
And I can
entities.
send that to you if I haven't already.
And the valuations would be,
I do believe those were on there as well.
okay. Because that's where the percent would come from, but, what else did I
You had a list of questions.
have? Yeah, that's why I don't go to sleep until 2.
I know.
Sorry.
I was gonna call you at midnight, except I was not.
Shoot, I was just in my glory then. Shoot.
Okay.
Okay, so it's discussion of, so I would like to, and I'm one of 4, give staff direction to proceed with this 0.25% sales tax.
When you say proceed with it,
I give you direction to go.
to draft up a resolution,
Yeah.
is that before we get the rest of the information?
Can we wait till next month? Well, yeah, it's before we get the rest of the information, because I already know what the rest of the information says. It's just for him.
Okay.
I would also ask you guys to take a look at, I mean, I know this is somewhat of a balance sheet. It doesn't work for me, but what I'm seeing in some of this is it's not really broken out and defined, but some of the questions that occur to me, because I know what goes on at the rec department, okay?
Connor.
And I don't know all the in particulars, but I do know that the City of Weed exchanges services for the Park District water for maintenance. Is that a fair and equitable agreement? I mean, that agreement was done years ago.
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
It was done about 3 years ago.
Was it really?
It was a Ron Stock.
You
I
were
have the
told it was
letter.
gonna be done years ago, but it actually wasn't done.
Okay, so if
3
it
years
was
ago, 4?
equitable,
Well-
that would be my in other words, we're giving you $200 worth of water. Are you giving us $100 worth of service, or are you giving us $600 worth of service? So, to
Okay, I can
me,
answer that.
Okay.
So, the water that we get from the city waters the park that belongs to the city. We just manage them. So Bel Air, Lobos, Sons, Lincoln belong to the city of Weed.
So you're cutting our lawns.
And we're watering your lawns. Yeah, the
So
only
that
part.
becomes the question, is what we're doing is that just because we're giving you water, what does that give you
No,
guys?
we were doing it before we were giving you water.
We mow all the parks, we manage the parks, we mow City Hall, we mow and take care of the plaza, the museum, Heritage Park. The only park that we actually own is Carrick, and
Right.
it's on a well.
So,
Is that difficult, Kim?
what's that?
Is that a difficult thing to comprehend?
Tell him to be quiet.
Well,
He can talk.
it's not about a difficult thing
No,
to
he is.
comprehend. Should it be
Yeah.
that way? Should we be paying you? That is the question. Huh?
So that would be, if you guys want to talk, you have to come to the microphone. So you're saying we should start charging the city for our services, and that's how we get extra money?
Yeah. Why would you do something for free? I don't get that. I mean,
Because
is
we're
that?
nice people.
uh,
Ken, because we're nice people.
Nice don't cut it for me. I run a business. I don't run a business for free. It's as simple as that.
Well,
I don't know if anybody else has not
and
seen
And
that.
you know what? I like to say that exactly too. But every day, I can't tell you how many times every day we get a phone call wanting to know about renting a room, having an event, renting the park, having softball or a soccer practice. And the very first question that that's asked is, what kind of deal are you going to give me? We charge.
I don't even know why you would respond. You have a fee and that's done.
Yes, but they think that we operate, that we have all this money, that they shouldn't have to pay for those fees. We had,
You know, as part of an ongoing enterprise, I couldn't call it a business, but an ongoing enterprise, you have to establish rates, and those are what they are. If they don't want to use their park and they want to go use something else or go out in the woods, that's their choice. But those are the things that I see as, I don't know what the numbers are, but right now I know that you're not getting paid from the city for mowing our lawns.
no.
I'm not sure whether to say shame on us or shame on you, but either way, those are fees. If we had to have a city crew go out and do it's $30 an hour, basically.
They don't have any lawnmowers. So,
Then we'd have to buy lawnmowers.
And you'd have to buy a lawnmower.
So again, if you're providing a service, you get paid. I'm just plain and simple about that. I don't think the city would squabble either. I don't know, and I hate to cost us more money on that side, but either way we look at this,
You might have to pass a tax to get that extra money to pay us to mow the lawn.
you know what, I would probably be okay with that one. At least I know what we would get. But, so,
So how about if we could just completely take Parks and Rec out of here? Parks and Rec doesn't want, maybe they'd ask for the money, but they don't want any of the money because I want a new fire truck. You okay with me wanting a new fire truck?
I'm okay with you wanting a new fire
Thank you.
truck.
I want a new fire truck, Tim. So can
However,
we put the 0.25% sales tax on the ballot, please?
If,
I like fire trucks.
I like police cars.
I want
However,
one of those too.
what we have here is we also are faced with the same thing you guys are faced with. We have a budget to operate in. So we have a $50,000 a year payment on a fire engine right now, don't we? Something in that neighborhood. We have done lease purchases before, and that's how our city operates, and then we get grant monies, and that's how our city operates. I'm not adverse to any of that. I'm just saying, if you're gonna generate a 1/4% sales tax based upon certain needs here, because rec department is, and I would have actually come, the irony is, I would actually go to a rec board meeting, but it's a violation of the Brown Act for me to talk to you two guys about a meeting, or it can be perceived as such.
Come this month, I won't be there.
Okay, to ask those questions, so it makes it difficult. So,
Well, that just goes back to there's only a very small group of us
I
that do everything.
understand all of that. So what I'm here to say is that when we're going through your particular finances, are you achieving what you need to out of your rent? Are you achieving out of what your labor is doing for us? Should the city be paying you $50,000 a year? I'm not saying we have to, but to throw a number out there for mowing our lawns, is that what's the fair numbers? If you're getting shortchanged and going in the hole and not being able to generate programs, that's not the right way to operate in my estimation. So, same way with the Family and Community Resource Center.
Yeah,
They'll get mad at me. However, if we deserve to pay you $150 a day, or I don't even know what the numbers are because I don't do those finances, but if we're responsible to pay you $150 a day and you already charge me $75, then you need to bump it to $150. So I know I'm on a resource center board. We don't do anything unless there is some way to pay for our personnel, to pay for our people that operate. So that's what I'm looking for here. But as far as a 1/4% sales tax, if Tim can sell me on the fact that we need it for city things, I'm okay with that. I'm just not sure if I'm really okay with park and rec things. But,
Well, we can bump up our rates and lose half of our members, and then we're right back to where we started. We have special programs for senior citizens through their
but you're looking at, that's looking at the small
insurance.
picture, but I'm looking at the organizations that
small
pay you.
picture.
I'm looking at the City of Weed that pays you. I'm looking at the Resource Center that pays you.
The
Technically,
Resource Center doesn't pay us.
we don't pay you for that room?
You don't pay us the rate that we would rent it to anybody else,
Why don't you?
because that was an agreement made before I got there. But I can do that. I can start charging you guys $500 a day
What I'm
at
saying
Monday.
is your rates are your rates. That's all I'm saying. I can't tell you how to do everything, but I'm just saying that they have to be what they have to be. And I'll stop talking. I would say until we get information for me on what those property taxes would generate, is that enough money? I have to see that. If raising property taxes, having the city pay you for your lawn mowing, in other words, how do you, the big number, I see your expenses, the big number is your revenue. That's how I operate. You generate enough money, expenses will be there. I'm done. We'll be here all night. So.
Any other discussion?
Anyway, sorry.
All right.
I'm a tough.
Sue has made a motion.
Well, no, there's no motion.
There's no motion.
There was no motion? Okay.
But do we have more direction from other council members to move forward with the transaction in use
Should we
tax?
have direction from two members that sit on the rec board? Wouldn't that be my next question?
She doesn't.
I don't sit on the rec
Or
board.
not on the rec board, she's a direct employee, so that's conflict, but
But
What?
I'm not-
Hopefully I won't be
No,
much
and
longer.
you're legit, but then I'm saying, don't give any of the money to the rec board. I go
That's
by
all I said, I'm
baseball.
just saying, I wanna see a recreation department that's healthy, so don't get me wrong. I
Okay.
wanna see a cemetery that operates, don't get me wrong on that either. I'm just saying, where does the money come from? Stacy's, or did volunteers? Kudos to your neighborhood, man. Shit,
But you know how that's,
heck, that's good. I mean, seriously, that is.
that was after years and years and years of them wanting help and nobody, and not having the money to do it.
I still
So
say
they-
kudos to the community. And I know Shirley and everybody at
Free
that
college
cemetery
for
does
all.
a lot of work. Your dad has done, a lot of people have done work even at the regular cemetery and not been, if that's what it takes in the neighborhood, that, I coached for 20, 40 years probably. I didn't get paid, didn't send, oh, actually, one organization did pay me. But I
I-
also spent a lot of money on that organization.
I remember pouring concrete and pulling weeds and moving cinder blocks and every so many months at the cemetery when I was probably 7.
I fixed the Little League field one year, we sodded your
And
your
that's
son's
what it
ball-
looked like.
It was all done labor, and those things may not come back. But I'm
Yeah,
just
I
saying,
wish.
It's not that I want a healthy recreation, I want a healthy cemetery, that's not the issue.
Can I say something about the cemetery?
Sure.
We collect donations, and I am the one, if somebody is going to give a donation to the cemetery, I'm the one that comes to, log it, we send it off.
Good.
Usually at the first of the year, in the past, we've had a couple of donors that would give a fairly large amount, and fairly large amount to the cemetery, $150 to $200. And by this time last year, during COVID and everything, we had roughly 600, I think it was $675 in donations from January 1st to, well, the first quarter. This year, I'm at 150. The donations aren't even coming in. And that's what we rely on.
And they are their own 501c3,
Yes.
and we do all their payroll. And yes, they pay us to do it.
So,
You were already prepped for my next
No,
question.
they do
I'm just
pay.
kidding.
They do. It's not much. but
I'm not
they do.
trying not to make anybody defensive.
so could the direction possibly be with staff bringing additional analysis from the assessor's office, from the cost analysis with the services that we're receiving versus what we're trading out for, in essence, with the Parks District, as well as with the ordinance itself for,
I would say you want to do the first two first. I mean, I don't know how everybody else is going to vote. I'm not
Understand.
sold.
I would think that doing a projection of what we receive now versus what the inflation costs are of what we spend that on. Do you know what are you? So if we're still gonna get 260,000 with the increased taxes, we might get 300,000. But with the increased costs, is that gonna take all of that 300,000, or would there actually be enough to fund something else?
well, if this thing is worded similar to what the last quarter penny was worded, and our new city attorney has made some suggestions of possibly not going that route completely, but, because there are specific language that he's informed me that we should be using in reference to this.
Well, I'm just thinking, if he wants, Ken is suggesting that we add our needs now into the tax that we already have.
The property tax?
No, the sales
The sales
The
tax.
other quarter penny.
Okay.
So what are the projections of what we're gonna bring in from that, and what are the projections of the costs that those things all, that money already funds? Or is that too much?
That's kind of, that would be a little bit of a swag on some of that, so. But it's up, I'm just looking for direction, so.
From my standpoint, I would like the city to take this, how about we just take a look at what our current 1/4% sales tax is, what our current sales tax supports, so that this council can take a look if we are supporting $50,000 to the library, $80,000 to seniors, and the balance is going to city services. We may not want to give up those particular services if we don't have anything in our coffers to do that with. But at least the county would be able, the council would be able to take a look at where that money is currently going. I would like to see that. Number two, I would like a report back from Paula on for the rec district, I should just leave it at that, to what a $25 fee on per parcel would generate, and a 2% fee would generate, and from there you can extrapolate whatever number you want.
Do you want it $25 a year?
Yeah. That's not gonna be enough, but it doesn't really matter. I'm looking for a number. If I wanna do $100 a year, I just gotta multiply it by 4. I'm okay with that. Okay. But right now, I don't know what those numbers are.
Okay.
If it's gotta be $100 a year, people are gonna scream.
Oh, they're gonna scream
They're
if it's
screaming
$5
25.
a year.
Well, on the other side, if you're looking for a 1/4% sales tax to milk the general public on a 1/4% sales tax, and I know that's not a lot of money, to pay for things that we do, sometimes you gotta put your own pants on. So I'll just leave it at that.
But it's
If
things
you
that we
want
do
it, then you,
for them.
if you want it, you pay for it. That's just the way I was raised, sorry.
Okay. So
That's all I got. Did you get directions out of that?
I've got yes.
All I want is just where we pay it now, and what we could make just with the property tax, which is, to me, the proper funding vehicle.
Sure.
The 1/4% sales tax, we kind of would just double what we got already. As close as we can get.
Yep.
It's always a moving target.
And we have, the calendar hasn't, I don't think, Sandy was saying it hasn't officially came out yet, the election calendars. But last time, I think we filed it like in late June. So we have time.
We have time.
Yeah.
It's usually, it has to be, because a transaction use tax requires 2 readings. It's an ordinance that has to be adopted by 4 of the 5.
Okay, so we
of
should
you.
get this underway by
And
May.
it has to be done 88 days prior to election day, which is usually the very beginning of August. The earlier, the better, is what any county registrar of voters will tell you, though.
And if we get the data, we could have a special meeting.
I believe that's what we
discuss the
did in 2020.
Just to
Yeah.
discuss the data.
Well, you could also have a special meeting to adopt the ordinance
Yeah.
because.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a special meeting to adopt the ordinance.
But to pass it has to be regular.
Right, for the first reading, yeah.
We don't have to recuse ourselves, do we?
I don't think so, because
It's not
your
dedicated.
interest, first of all, it'll also depend on how you guys want to formulate a tax if you decide to go there, but even so, as an employee of a government, that salary is not considered income for
It doesn't look like it.
purposes of the Political Reform Act. So, and that would also apply to if you get a stipend or something.
No.
Nope.
But obviously, if it's a general tax, then there's no legal obligation for the city to spend it to
That's,
assist the Parks and Rec.
that's what I want. Fire truck.
Right, you could use it for a fire truck.
And cute firemen.
Can we buy those?
You could not use it on legal services.
To get us out of
I already have
trouble?
my own cute fireman, it's okay.
Okay. Can we move on? We only have 5 other things. No, I'm kidding. This is the latest we've been here, I think, since Tim got here.
No. We've had a couple lectures.
Okay, thank you for your support.
Bye.
The TOT for the cemetery,
Oh,
did they just got up and left?
oh,
I'm assuming her speech would be the same.
Oh,
yeah.
Surely,
No,
what is?
I think you just pissed her off enough she left.
Yeah, probably.
No, I did.
You know that.
You don't care.
I care.
No, you don't.
It's kind of, I
No.
like the cemetery being nice. I like you guys to have your building and have programs. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
Just forget it.
The thing that blows my mind is this was your idea.
It was your idea.
It was your idea. This whole thing was your idea, to get the cemetery off of TOT. So I took it and ran with it, and now you don't like it. All right.
Come out of the general fund.
Gap funding for the cemetery. That was kind of loud, huh? You guys still awake?
And they, Sandy, they've already come to you, excuse me, Mrs. Mayor, may I
Yes,
say something?
please.
They've already come to you and asked how much they needed?
It was in there.
Okay.
It was in there, yeah.
Gap funding from January through June of this year for $15,000. And if you look at,
Did we give,
No.
so they're drawing off of the next year's TOT? Is that what?
If, whatever they're given, whatever you guys decide tonight, if they are allocated some funds, then that, at the next TOT request, if they do request additional for the next fiscal year, will show that they have received the gap funding. The staff memo that's in front of their request shows their award allocation all the way back to 2012,
So
the
they're-
11-12.
They've used all of last year's. The last time they got TOT, they've already spent all that.
Yes, they requested their 2021 invoices. Their first quarter was January of '21 for $23.50. And then it looks like they combined their Q2 and 3 but did not request it until October, and that was $4,700. So there's like a 9-month gap there. And then Q4, they requested in November the $23.50.
Have we ever given them $15,000?
No.
No.
They asked, I don't know, I think there was a little confusion in that request. We allotted them 9140, which was 9139 more than I thought, but I think that's all right. I'm so mean.
You
I
were
know.
so bad.
No wonder you're up at 2 o'clock. It's your conscience.
No, not at all. I sleep like a baby when I go there. I get up at 9. So 9140 is,
For the whole county.
half, we should give half, right?
Right.
That's what I'm getting.
Well, no, it's March. Shouldn't we give them a quarter of the 90?
I think
Because
when
then
we-
they'll come back in June?
Or we give it to
Well,
them
in
now and
June,
we
the
don't
full
see them
amount
in
will be
June.
awarded from
But,
June to June.
yeah, you have to remember you didn't allocate in December.
Right.
So, yeah, there
Right.
is
I don't do
6
math.
months.
6
that-
months that they have not to.
And last year, they were awarded 9140 for a 12-month period.
So that's why we were hoping they would be here to ask why we're asking for 15 now.
I'm sorry I made them mad.
I can probably answer that because I know that in the past, their theory is always, and I think it's not just theirs, if we need 10, we're gonna ask for 20 and hope that they give us 12.
Yeah.
Is kind of the TOT MO for not just the cemetery, but
I thought
everybody
we
that
said last
requests.
year that we wouldn't give them any. They had to figure it out for themselves this year. I mean, just kidding.
You said that.
So, yeah, so we need some direction on,
$4,600 is what I would make a motion to approve for the cemetery district. That's half of what our allotment was last year, a little over.
Okay. He's made a motion. Anybody want to second it?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm gonna buy a new fire truck.
You're gonna second that?
Yeah, I'll second it.
All right.
there is no public
There's
letter.
nobody,
some
I don't know,
There's a guy in the back, you want to call?
Should run everything like a business. Really,
We do.
if you're, I know you do, but if you're providing a service like Parks and Rec, if you're renting a pavilion out at Carrick or the.
No, we've moved on.
It's supposed to come to the
yeah.
mic.
I know.
We're running like a,
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Okay, but we've moved on from that one.
I know.
So this is TOT tax. All right, so we have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
I vote no.
Opposed? Stacy is opposed,
did you want to suggest something now?
and motion
I don't
carried.
want to say anymore. I said what I wanted to say.
All right. Ordinance by motion for hold introduction and first reading by title only of ordinance 467-2022 regarding the licensing of short-term rentals.
Oh, that one is just, we're just changing numbers, right?
Oh, that's the one with the or with the duplicate numbers?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we go with, I move to introduce and hold a first reading by title only of ordinance number, oh no.
Do we have to have two on that, or just one?
467-2022.
Resolution or ordinance? Ordinance, okay.
Of ordinance number 467-2022, licensees of short-term rentals.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, E, by motion, hold introduction and first reading by title only of ordinance 468-2022, adopting a policy for the use of military equipment by the Weed Police Department. And it looks like Justin ran out frantically.
yeah, he's on a
Got a
call right now,
call?
so he's giving you guys, I think, we only have one piece of equipment that even qualifies for this, but we are required by the state now to do this.
Okay, so I wanted to ask him, what kind of equipment is that's military?
I
Do we
believe
know?
it's
It's in the, it's in the.
I think it's in the memo. Is it like a tear gas launcher or something?
Yeah, it's a riot gun or something that
Oh.
hasn't been used.
Tear gun.
Okay.
Tear gas with.
Tear gas, that's, okay, yes.
Federal riot gun.
I read it, but I couldn't remember. Okay. Can I entertain a motion?
I so move.
Oh, I know everybody's watching the game. What happened? What is it?
Let's not talk about that.
Yeah, no, let's not talk about it right now.
So, yeah, it is.
Make a motion?
Yes, I will make a motion to, no. I move to introduce and hold a first reading by title only of ordinance number 468-2022, adopting a policy for the use of military equipment by the Weed PD.
I'll second it.
Stacy seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Staff reports.
We have no, oh, that's right.
Craig?
Just real quick, I wanted to give you an update on how our meter installation is going. We're putting in our remote read meters. We're up to 235 meters so far. So we're,
Is it going smoothly?
that actually is. We've got another order placed, so we hopefully to have all this done this summer, so.
How many
along
do
with
we-
Many other things.
How many people do we have?
About 900.
Oh, okay.
Mine's installed.
Yours is?
See?
Is it working
He
properly?
must like you better than me.
My bill has not gone down, but it's my problem.
Do we have any, ETA on the parking lot pavement?
No,
Will we ever?
yes,
Do you think it will be this summer?
yes.
Which parking lot? Sons of Italy?
By the Suns?
Yeah, it's not really the Suns, it's the city.
It's a
but
city's
yeah,
parking
yeah.
lot, yeah, I said by the Suns.
I know,
So we got
but-
enough money to pave it?
Yes,
Good job.
Awesome.
through Kelly that was just here. You should have thanked her.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Did she get us those funds?
Well,
She helped.
she helps.
Good job.
And then,
We've been waiting for that.
Can we send her some chocolate?
do we get 97 and 97 paved this summer?
Yes, we are currently out to bid on the Lincoln Heights project, the Lincoln Avenue. Should be in April, bringing you back to hopefully award a contract.
Yay.
So Lincoln Avenue from where to where?
Angel Valley,
97
Lincoln
and
Road to
97.
97.
Broadway, I mean,
It's
it's
four
four
different
different roads on,
Yeah.
or four different names on one road.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
That road's in bad shape.
Yeah, we're out to bid right now, so hopefully we'll have something to you in April.
Are we having talks with Roseburg and International State or whatever they're called about Mill Street?
Yes, I've made calls to Paul Hammond. I'm still waiting to get back from Pacific State.
Pacific State.
Yeah, they haven't returned, I left a couple of voicemails, they haven't returned my calls yet, but we want to get with them and discuss some possible,
Send
different.
them an invoice for about $254,000 and see if they call you.
Okay. I'm sure they
Isn't that the
will.
franchise fee?
So,
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, so we are in the process of that.
All right. Anna?
I don't have anything to report this month, but I'll have you next month.
Okay, well, you have a new employee.
Oh, well, yes, we do have a new employee. Thank you for mentioning that. Yes, we replaced our accounts payable payroll clerk this week. So she's doing great, and she's going to be a great asset to our team.
And tell me how you say her name.
Her name is Chrissy Pesh.
Chrissy? Okay, it's just spelled weird, I guess. Okay, thank you. Steve, welcome back.
Thank you. Just like to thank you for your support in my time of need, so that's all.
Do you know do you know the new lady? Do you know her kids? Your wife knows her kids?
I know her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
Yeah, we used to sit and have lunch with them all the time. Yeah.
She's our lunch friend.
Feeding the kids, yep.
Awesome. All right, Sandy?
The only thing I'd like to report is our progress on the 44 South Boulevard parking lot. We just got our Phase 1 environmental report back, all 741 pages. I got a hold of the environmental company that did the report and said, could you please give me a synopsis of what it is? And she says, essentially, we've passed the phase, so we've got a few other things we have to do. What is it called? An acceptance of?
Yeah, there has to be a certificate of acceptance.
Certificate of acceptance. Hopefully by the next month's council meeting, we'll have all that lined up and we will be officially ready to close on that piece of property and move forward with our EV lot.
So do we think that could be done this summer also?
That would be a stretch because there is a lot of items on that particular piece of
That's
property.
not the word I was thinking. That was a good one.
Ken used that word earlier.
My
but-
word? Yeah.
Your word. And so anyway, yes, I don't know if we could have it done because we still have to, I believe we're going to go through the RFP process for whoever's going to provide the services out there. So, but we're getting there. So, but I think we want it to look nice. We want it to look aesthetically pleasing and have a group of EV stations right in the middle of our gas station alley out there. So
Any report on the dog park?
I haven't heard anything back from Anna yet. That may be months before we even hear back. Typically, what she had expressed to me is they might come back and ask more additional questions if we're, in consideration, which I think we probably could be, but she'll be the point of contact for that, so.
Let me see if.
Actually, Megan
Catherine's
and Lydia, the two ladies that are doing the administration, assured me that they will be asking questions probably of every applicant.
Sure.
Before they make any decisions.
Sure,
So-
they want to do their due diligence.
Yeah,
'cause-
but when I get an email that says grants, I get excited and then I go, it's not that one.
It's not that one,
Yeah.
yep. Same here.
Would we send out a bid on that property on the boulevard for like Tesla or anybody like that?
Yeah, I believe we can put it out there for, Tesla, and there's another, was it Rivian? We've got a couple, Rivian is a company, it's a new company that's out there. They came out and did an assessment of it and kind of already gave us I don't know, what would you say? It wasn't a quote, it was just basically a project, what'd you call it?
Yeah, basically, they said they'd build it. If they had the property to put it on it, they would go ahead and build it. But I think we're gonna have to, being it's a public, we need to put it out to
Yeah.
more than just Rivian.
Yeah, I believe so,
Yeah.
But the good thing about most of these companies now is they have you know, those things are adaptable to most different, you know, the different cars that are out there.
Yeah, even Tesla's done that, yeah.
Yeah, even a Tesla could be hooked up to a Rivian and work just as well. And I will tell you, I go down to Starbucks probably 3 or 4 times a week, and I'm always amazed at how many truckloads of Teslas are sitting there queued up, getting ready to take off. It's amazing. I mean, one after another. So lots of them out there.
And when I said I traveled yesterday, and it's amazing because you're going south and you'll see a semi full of Teslas going north. And then you're going north and you see a truckload of Teslas going south. And I'm like, why didn't you guys just stay where you were?
Yeah, I don't know either. I'm kind of, but I think the majority of them are going north, up toward Portland, Seattle, that area.
The only cars you'll see right
Oh, yeah. I mean, I hardly see any GMs or a truckload of pickups.
Right.
They would probably be hijacked if you saw those. So that's all I have to report.
David? We would ask you how your dog is, but.
You like to get from your city attorney?
Just how your dog is.
My dog still doesn't exist.
Okay, there we go, thank you.
He's fine then.
I'm still, yeah,
I think that's some litigation that we don't have updates on, that's probably best.
Say that, okay.
The Loves matter was, it looks like oral argument is going to be set soon. We
Yeah.
got a request from the court saying we can decide this without argument, so let us know if you want to waive oral argument. Today, the petitioners filed their request for oral argument, so there will be oral argument. It just hasn't been scheduled yet. And then we can expect a decision within 90 days of oral argument, probably sooner.
Who has to pay court costs on that?
Who has to pay court? Well, usually with appeals, the person who loses. Hopefully not us.
Well, and if it was us, it would be Love's, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're currently.
Unfortunately, we don't want to lose it all, yeah.
Okay, Stacy, Bob's not here. You're the closest thing.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.